But we've been lucky to have Chief Vincent Mann, Chief of the Turtle Clan Ramapough Lenape Nation, with us through much of this conference. And we wanted to make sure that he got a chance to say a few words of his reflections about what he's been witnessing. And then he'll be coming back to us at the very end of the conference in a little bit. But we wanted to have him kind of offer some reflections for about 5 minutes, and then we'll open it up and ask you to turn your cameras on, your screens on, so that we can also see you and we can see each other together. And then we're gonna wrap up after that. And we're happy to respond, but we're mainly here to just listen to your comments, your suggestions, questions, that kind of thing. So Chief Mann, welcome, welcome. Really great to see you. You can read his bio in the program. I'm not going to take up more time, but I'm really glad you can join us. We've been working together for a number of years now. It's really great to see you at this gathering as well. Chief, you're muted.
How's that? Am I still muted?
No, you're good. You're good.
All right. Thank you, Neil. First of all, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to reflect back upon the last 3 days of this incredible conference. As many know, if you've read my bio or know who I am, environmental justice has been at the forefront of my existence as of late, as well as trying to keep the Turtle Clan people alive in this time of COVID, but also in the last 56 years from pollution, toxic material. I'm reminded of the ivory towers in R2-D2. Iwa, the one who keeps balance in the ecosystem, and Vertria Rumanang, the tree of spirits or the souls. That's from Avatar. This pin that I am wearing right now, my uncle gave to me to put on, and it's not from Star Trek. It's not from Star Wars. This is the pin of Pontiac. This is the head of the turtle. The reason why I chose to wear it was to make sure to continue to ground us in how we began this with my cousin Brent Stonefish to the north, and his words that he shared, reminding of us of the space that we're in. What is the relationship between those who carry local indigenous knowledge and African American deep-rooted knowledge in universities? What will the leaders of these universities do to open their hearts and their minds, their ears and their spirits, to invite those knowledge bearers? It is not enough to have an idea or a thought, but to create action, to empower not just professors, but the community in which we are all part of. To honor our traditional practitionerships, the knowledge we carry and can offer has value and is just as legitimate as a degree from a sterile ivory tower. This challenge is laid at the feet of those who can affect change for the betterment of not just those of privilege, but for those who reside in the shadows in those communities in which you come to and reside in as well. You have an inherent responsibility to cause this effect, to make real change, and to make inclusion a realized prayer. I say that because over the last 5 years, I have dedicated so much time of my life to being a part of classrooms in universities, from Ramapough College to NYU to University of Pennsylvania, Rutgers, New Brunswick, Rutgers, Newark, Price Institute. And the reason why I did that was because in order to bring change to our community, I realized that I had to be that one person who stood up, who took the responsibility of creating trust where there has been none. Jack and I, last year, we went to North Carolina, to Greensboro. I think that's North Carolina. And while we were there, they were doing this fishbowl. And Jack had said, you know, hopefully someone's going to tap me on the shoulder. And I had no intention whatsoever of getting inside of that fishbowl, nor did I understand the rules of the fishbowl, because I don't come from that sterile ivory tower. When I heard one of the professors talk about how when he goes into immigrant communities, the Creator must have smacked me in the back of the head, because I got up and I went over there and I tapped Jack on the shoulders, and I never seen Jack so happy. He smiled and he got up. And I sat down and I waited for that professor to finish speaking. And when he did, I simply had one question for him. And my question to him was, did he realize that he's an immigrant? Did he realize that by saying that he's going into that immigrant community to offer them help, to help them stand up, to give them a backbone, a vehicle, a clear passage to assistance? Did he realize that he was an immigrant? Then we were at another place, and I happened to walk over to one of the tables where there was this incredible conversation going on. And there was this unbelievable female European descendant professor. And she goes, when I go into these communities, I tell them, you know, I know that I'm just a white woman coming into this community. And I said, excuse me, can I interrupt for a second? And they said, oh, sure, Chief Man. I said, do you know that you, by saying that you are just a white woman, offends those people? You're offending them in thinking somehow that they can't see you with their eyes or their heart or feel your words. And it was to take a step back, because those people who are being asked to be engaged by universities across this country, we're human beings. We don't come from places where there's ivory towers. We don't come from the make-believe worlds of R2-D2 or Avatar. We're real humans. Our lives and that interaction between us and universities has real effects. You know, many times I myself have been let down, but I protected my community from that because I was the one who bared the brunt of those letdowns. Universities are changing. This hack on this university is that, and I heard it in this last part, was that when new provosts come or new presidents come, or those people who are sitting at the top, they come with their own ideas of what things should be. And I think that how universities and the way that they operate should be rewritten by the professors, and how they operate, how they include these humans, these less fortunate people. While Rutgers University, I believe, offers maybe 3,000 scholarships or something like that a year, I may be wrong, but it's a lot. Not one of those are geared towards Native Americans. That university, in all of its locations, sits on the Lenape land, a key. And to feel as if we are separate from that land. It's a real sickening feeling that we carry. Ramapough, Rutgers University in 1960s created a tomato. And that tomato that they created, they had this guy, and he went outside and he tilled this field. And he was a 7th generation settler. And when he tilled that field, all these artifacts came out of the ground. 1968, the year I was born. And because of those artifacts that came out of the ground, he went back inside and spoke to the scientists, agricultural people, and he said, you know, through oral tradition, as a 7th generation settler, it has been passed down to us that the ancient tribe, the Ramapough, would canoe down the Raritan River to that very spot every single year in the spring. That tomato that they created is called the Ramapough tomato. Not because they didn't have any other thing to call it, but because of the remembrance of the indigenous people that we descend from today. It is imperative that this university and all other universities, wherever there is federally recognized tribes, state recognized tribes, or people who self-identify as Native American, are provided the opportunity to learn, to be educated, to be able to take that sterile information and bring it back into their communities so that those communities can then use them to pick themselves up from despair. Our kids that are on reservations should not be looking out of a window that has a screen blowing in the wind when it's -20 and snow on the ground. They shouldn't have to worry about where their food comes from or if it's safe for them to drink water. Speaking of that, I posed some questions earlier, and it was in regards to the water that Newark gets. Do the folks in Newark, the city of Newark, know where their water comes from? It comes from the Wanakee Reservoir, which sits less than 1 mile from a federal Superfund site. Those lands that our people actually live in have been dumped on with 4 toxic wastes since 1964, 56 years. Those pipes didn't just start leaching away. And it's not only the only chemicals that are finding their way into these waters. Water has a memory, it's alive, right? It takes all that pain and suffering that happens in North Jersey and brings it down to all those who are drinking it. The crisis of water in the state of New Jersey is far outweighs that in Flint, Michigan. We've all been lied to. It's one of the biggest cover-ups in this country. In the past years, I tried to get the EPA to have a CAG meeting there so that those stakeholders, those humans who live there, who are affected by this unknown thing that has affected their lives, so that they can actually have a say what happens to their water that they drink. It fell on deaf ears. But if we're going to hack a university, we should bring all these thoughts forward. They should all be laid at the feet of all of those people who are the ones who make decisions. The temperature in the room needs to be turned up. It's been turned up in our homes forever. We matter. Anishik, thank you.